What is up, fantasy football fools? We are back again. We've got the week 13 recap coming at you, but more importantly, we've got the playoff picture, the playoff look ahead. We're going to talk about what everybody needs to get in, what some people need to stay out, so on and so forth. We'll start here with our games from last week and just go over the ones that had any sort of playoff impact and who won, who needed to, who lost, who really needed a win. We'll start here with your game versus Dom. I'd say a pretty big win for you and kind of a big loss for Dom here. How you feeling coming into this? Now we're playing for the division.
Yeah, I mean, this was a must-win if I for 100% odds at the playoffs. So I'm glad I won. This was a bigger loss for Dom, though. I think if Dom wins this, I don't know if it's 100%, but it's definitely more than his. I think he's got 38% chance right now. So tough week for Dom. I'm feeling great though. I got you for the division next week. We'll talk about that a little later though. But Dom, I mean, he had to start feeling pretty bad when on Thursday night my kicker put up a 24 ball. That's tough to overcome, and he didn't overcome it, but he did have a good Sunday night. I think that was or Monday night. I don't know when the Broncos played. I think that was Sunday night. RJ Harvey with a nice 21-point game for him. I mean, Dom just has to beat James this week. If Dom beats James, I think there's another thing. He has to beat Jeff by like 20 points as well. This team can do it. It's on like a 4-game losing streak right now. I think Dom is, or maybe it's only 3. But he's on the downward slope. But this team does have the ability to sneak in. But we'll go. I mean, James was in a must-win game. If he lost, he would have been out versus Chris. And this team just looked dominant. Like we've always said, pretty much this whole season, his team has been like the best team or one of the best teams, and just his record hasn't shown it. So James will be a very tough out for Dom. And I probably have James in this matchup, but that's one team I really don't want to see is James in the playoffs.
Yeah, this team has got some pretty big names on the squad. AJ Brown's had an incredibly inconsistent season, had some real duds. He finally puts up a big score.
Yeah.
Bijan is Bijan. He has had some up and down weeks this year too. He had a great week this week. So yeah, I mean James has got some big names on this team and he's getting hot. I mean, if he can keep this up, he's getting hot at the perfect time. But yeah, James versus Dom is going to be a big game for playoffs seedings and who's getting in and who's out. I think losers probably out, which we'll get into when we get into our playoff picture in a little bit. But yeah, a huge win by James here. Playing one of the weaker teams in Chris, unfortunately,
Yeah.
for Chris's season that's been over for a while. So it was definitely a good week for him to see Chris on the schedule, but he puts up a 156, so you can't be mad about that. And I'm sure he's hoping that his team can stay hot coming into the playoffs and he can get that last win and hopefully sneak in.
Yeah, and James was the highest point getter this week, so he was going to beat anybody who he came across, and he needed it, and he got it. So good win by James. See if him and Dom will probably be the matchup to watch next week. Jimmy and Chewy, nothing really to say about this game, though. Chewy did lose Amon Ra pretty early, and just a lot of duds from Chewy. I think JSN only got like 3 or 4 points, something like that. It was a really bad week for Chewy. So interesting enough to see how he does or how he answers versus Jeff next week. We'll go to you and Lubas's game. This was over before it started. It didn't even need to be played. I mean, you doubled his points. Nothing much to say there. But how are you feeling good coming in or going into our matchup next week after a big win like this?
I mean, I do. I mean, obviously, I feel really good. I'm 100% in the playoffs, which is always great. But now it's like I get a better seed if I beat you. And I also have a shot at the number one overall seed, which would be great as well. But nonetheless, whatever happens this coming week, we do have some pretty tough buys, week 14, which kind of
Yeah, we
sucks.
both do.
But it's hard to be mad when you know you're in the playoffs no matter what. So that definitely feels good. But I'm still looking forward to this week to hopefully lock in maybe a 1 seed or at least the division. That'd be really nice. But yeah, this week was kind of a cakewalk. I knew I was getting this dub for sure.
Yeah, I mean our game is for $50 at least, and you have a shot to get the $125 if Jimmy gets an L as well. So we are playing for some money. So this week is a lot bigger than prior weeks for at least our matchup. But then another big game was Jeff and Nick. this was tight all day or all week, all weekend. I think they had a couple Thursday games, Friday game with DeAndre Swift. This was a good game, a low scoring game, but one that Nick needed and one that Jeff needed. And Jeff came out on top, and he's still alive. They're both still alive, but Jeff has a little better situation. And now Jeff gets Chewy. This was a good game. Nick's got to be feeling pretty bad, but Jeff could squeak in. He could squeak in.
He could squeak in, and yeah, tough loss for Nick, but Nick still does have a chance to get in with some help. Definitely would have liked to see a win here. I think Jeff like snuck this win by his kicker at the end. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, this
20
was
points.
this was a hell of a matchup. Gets Joe Burrow back at like the perfect time. Jamar Chase, like if he can sneak in the playoffs, I mean, don't overlook this team because Jeff could possibly get hot. And I feel like Jeff went on a pretty big skid in the middle of the season, and then just started stacking some wins. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe he was stacking wins at the beginning and then went on a skid. But nonetheless, this team could possibly be good, maybe. Maybe not one of the scariest teams on the board, but if Lamar figures out or like remembers how to play football at some point, this could be a pretty solid team in the playoffs if he can sneak in. And we'll talk about what he needs and what Nick needs to get in here. But nonetheless, this was a really good matchup.
Yeah, it's weird because I remember last podcast I mentioned Joe Burrow is coming back, and maybe this was 2 weeks ago. No, this was his first week. So I mean, if Nick plays any of his other quarterbacks instead of Justin Herbert, he wins this game. I wonder how much thought process that he had with that, because that was a huge decision. And I mean, Herbert was playing Las Vegas, so he should have had a better game, but he
He
broke
did
his
get
hand during
he
that
got hurt,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, so like it kind of sucks. But I wonder how much thought um, Nick had with these quarterbacks. He has three good quarterbacks, not like great quarterbacks. I mean, Burrow's coming off an injury, so he's usually great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if Nick's kicking himself. I know I would be if I had the decision and I made the wrong one, of course, if I thought about it long enough. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. I
interesting
feel
game.
like that Burrow choice, like he was coming off a pretty big injury, like could have taken one
Oh
bad
yeah,
hit to send him right back to the bench. So like first week back, I get that one. The Jared Goff one, Jared Goff versus Justin Herbert. I don't know, that's kind of a toss up too. Yeah, that's tough. And Herbert was playing a terrible defense, so I guess I kind of understand that. It sucks that he got hurt, but I'm sure Jeff's happy about it.
yeah, just ecstatic. He needed that win, but though I mean, and Johnny actually finally loses a game, so Jimmy actually clinches that division. I think Jimmy's beaten Johnny twice, and then
Yep.
he gets him this week. So Jimmy's definitely clinched that division. So that game's not really being played for anything except for the fact that if you win, you get the number one seed if Johnny wins. But Rudy comes out on top. And Johnny still puts up a respectable 117, just not enough because Rudy seems really good. It's just 4-9 and has been out of the playoffs for about a month now.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm not mad that he misses because this
Yeah,
team was good, dude. Like Rudy's had a really good team. Unfortunately, he started like 0 and
0 and
6 or 0
6.
and
Yeah,
7 something. So like he
something.
he had a rough road, but I mean Rudy's team was pretty solid. He did trade for CeeDee Lamb some point, I think like week 4 or 5
And
maybe.
James Cook.
Yeah, and James Cook. So yeah, that was a big move. And
Good trade.
unfortunately, it didn't pan out. But I think for all of us in the playoffs, happy to see this team not make it because Rudy had a pretty good squad and probably would have made a pretty good run in the playoffs if he had made it.
Yeah, and that was a really good trade looking back at it. It's just if Rudy didn't start the season 0 and 6 or 0 and 5 and then made that trade because CD was hurt when he made the trade. If he could have went like 2 and 4 and made that trade, he'd be sitting at like 6 and 7 and he'd have a shot. So, but like you said, glad he doesn't because that team is very scary.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about that trade is like it was a really good trade for Rudy, but like looking at it overall, I think it ruined both him and Chris's chances like early. Like it decimated Chris's team. I feel like making that trade, and it just didn't help Rudy enough to get in after a slow start. So funny to look at that like as an overall and just be like, man, that trade kind of ruined both teams for them.
Yeah, it was a lose lose, but like not because of the trade. It was more lose lose just when they made it for one guy,
Yeah,
and
like the
then it was just kind of a
situation.
loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a weird trade when it happened, and it's still a weird trade looking back at it. So, um, but nonetheless, that's okay with me because those two are out. So, two less people to worry about. But we'll go to the Word doc that I sent out. Me and Ryan will just kind of quickly talk about this or just talk about it. I put the picture of the top six. These are the top six teams that are vying for that four week or the 4-team mini game. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3, 2 weeks. The old format. It's very tight. It looks like you and Johnny probably have it on lock. I know Johnny definitely does, but you'd have to have a really bad week for you to lose your spot. But I mean, Chewy, James, me, and Jimmy, very close. We're all about 2017-ish points together. So very close for that. That's a big payout. Number one. Oh, this is the number one seed. That is 125 to the first place team and $50 for a second. So not a lot, but enough to make it interesting. Who's your vote to take the last two spots, thinking that you and Johnny have it clinched?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can at least put up like 100 this week. I know I'm not gonna have a great week because of my buys, but as long as I can put up like 100-ish, I think I should keep that spot. But I that's tough too because I mean week 14 buy like there's some big
There's
guys
some
on
buys.
buy this week.
Yeah.
I know you have some pretty rough buys. I want to say that James probably sneaks in there, and I think it's gonna be. Man, that's tough. I think it's going to be a toss up. I think that 10-ish point edge that you guys have, Chewy has like 15 or so on Jimmy. I think that's going to help. So I think it's going to be James, and it's going to be a toss up between you and Chewy.
Yeah, I think Chewy with the injuries. I don't know if Almon's playing tomorrow. That's a big guy versus the Dallas defense. He
I
rolled his
don't think he's
ankle.
playing.
Uh, he's not playing. Okay, so yeah, so
I don't know if
Chewy's
it's
getting some
confirmed, but
injuries.
it does not sound like he's playing.
Yeah, so I'm actually with you. I think it's going to be me and James that squeak in there. But like you said, I do have buys. I don't know who has buys or like their buys with like James and Jimmy, but I think Jimmy. I mean, 11 points doesn't seem like a lot, but it kind of is when you're thinking one game you need 11 points, like you have minus 11 points, like that's huge. So I don't think Jimmy has enough unless he puts up another week like he did last week. He got like 140 or something like that. But I think me and James will squeak in there, and we'll see how that goes. But that's a fun mini game. I like this mini game. I think we've tried a lot of wacky out of the box mini games, and this one's definitely my favorite. I remember like this was a long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. Do you remember the one we did where we'd pick the winner of each week, and like people would text me on who we thought would win
Oh,
in the best record? That was a
yes.
disaster. A lot of people didn't
That
do that
one
well.
that one wasn't great. And then there
That was
was
terrible.
oh my God, I can't even remember what it was. I remember we were like rolling numbers.
Yeah, rolling dice. Yeah, like random numbers for like one would be rushing yards for the week, longest
Yeah.
touchdown.
Yeah,
Some,
that one was interesting. That one was kind of fun just because like you didn't know what it was gonna be, but
right. And it
I
made us
do agree.
pod
Like
more.
I think this one was a little bit more fun, and obviously this is our second year doing this, so
Yeah.
it's probably going to be here to stay for a little while unless we can think of something better. But yeah, I do like this one, but we've had some interesting ones over the
We've
years.
had some we've had some wacky ones, but this one's just more because it also gives the top point getters like James. Let's say he doesn't make the playoffs, but he does make this playoffs. It just gives him another opportunity to make some money with a really good team that he has, which I can appreciate. We've had some really good teams, especially James's teams in the past, not make the playoffs, and he's had like the most points before. I think this was like 3 or 4 years ago. So it gives those teams some something to hope for. And then you got Johnny, who is the most points getter. So he'll have the most points single game is Johnny. So that's $100. And for the season, he'll probably beat you. He's got you by 60. So that's $200 for Johnny right now before the playoffs even start, guessing that those two hold up. So that's his buy-in. So he's playing with house money now, which is got to be a great feeling for Johnny.
Yeah, I mean those are two big things to get, and he almost won that division too. So he would have got
He did.
another $50 or whatever it is for the
Yeah.
division. And but yeah, I mean this is fun. This we got a lot of good payouts here and some fun things to play for. Unfortunately for our teams at the bottom, they're really not playing for anything, but
That's why I
fun season nonetheless for them.
That's why I didn't show them in the points. I just wanted the important teams. Um, but we do have like like I said, Jeff and Nick can squeak in there. But yeah, just the one seed. I think we already talked about. Jimmy has it unless he loses and you win. And then if I win, I get the 2 seed. So that's the $50, and then Jimmy would get the 125. Mini playoff. We kind of talked about that post points. So then here's kind of what the playoff teams are. What needs to happen. Jimmy, Johnny, you, and me have already clinched, and I've had Chewy basically clinched. He would need to lose and score like literally 0 points, and then Dom would need to score like 165 or something like that. So he's basically clinched. He's got a 99% chance via ESPN, but that's basically 100. So there's one spot for 4 teams, and James is in the classic winner go home situation. If he wins, nobody could beat him. If all these teams loses, they definitely are out. So James is in the winner go home situation. But when it gets a little interesting is if James loses, Dom can get in and Chewy beats Jeff. But if Jeff wins, Dom will have a 14.82 plus spread against Jeff. So Jeff would need to beat him by 15. So Dom's basically going against 2 people right now. And then Jeff, of course, needs to beat Dom and win by that much to get in. And then Nick needs to beat Dom by about 41 points. So I don't think Nick's going to do it, but maybe. There's a chance. But
there's a chance. Nick's team has put up some big scores this year. I don't want to say that it's impossible. But the hard part is he needs Dom to so like he needs Dom to put up a low score but also win.
Beat
So
James.
that's the hard part there. Is like he basically needs James and Dom to both put up super low scores. Dom wins with like a 80, and then he puts up like a 130 or 125, whatever. So yeah, like Nick's in a really tough spot, but the hope is still there. Like you go into a week like this in Nick's situation, and it's like at least you have a chance. You got something to root for. One more week of it at least, and I mean it's gonna be a tough road to get there, but he's got a shot.
And Nick also has to beat Rudy.
And he also has to win. That's also true, which is not. But the thing, like, he has to put up at least like 130 to have a shot to get over these guys. Like, if he puts up 130 plus, he probably wins. So, I don't know.
He honestly needs like a 150 to get.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Yeah,
like to get in the playoffs, like. Yeah, so Jeff needs. That's the thing. Yeah, Dom needs to beat James because if James wins, it's over. Like Jeff,
everybody's
Dom,
out.
and Nick are done. Yeah, James gets that spot. So James is the only person to like control his own destiny. Dom kind of does, but he also needs to beat Jeff by that 15. So it's kind of controlling your destiny. But if Jeff puts up just a stellar score, like he's gonna beat him over Dom. So I wouldn't say that's like your own destiny because something could happen to get you out, even if you do win. But yeah, James, and like we just said, James's team is kind of getting hot at the right moment. We'll go to the scoreboard and we'll kind of go into these games because the Word doc is basically done. And we'll go right to that game. We'll skip the 2 games for the division for right now. This is the game that half the league is looking at. um, in order to get in, and it's projected close, 118 to 115. Let's get a little thoughts on who you think's going to win this and what each team needs in order to win.
So first of all, James' quarterback's on a bye, so he's running
Oh
with
yeah,
Tyrod Taylor this week. Unless Jaden Daniels plays, which I've seen some back and forth on whether that might happen. It sounds like he wants to play. I don't know if he's going to. I think it would be absolutely silly for them to let him play at this point. Like that team is done this year, and it's just an injury risk waiting to happen. But sounds like he might play, which would probably be a big advantage for James. But if not, he's rolling with Tyrod Taylor, so that's a small hit probably to the team. But I don't know. Like James's team just looks good. Not a lot of tough matchups. There's really only that one tough bye. And then looking over here to Dom's team, Tony Pollard and RJ Harvey is your our running back 1-2 punch. Not what you're like
yes,
really hoping to hoping to get there. He's got a couple guys on a bye. Brian Thomas has had a rough year. Khalil Shakir is just kind of just that floor
but
guy. He's not going to get you a 30 ball most times. He's got Puka in there. I got to give the edge to James. I think James is going to walk away with this one for sure.
yeah, James. I think James has the better team. The only tough matchup he really has is Bijan with Seattle, but usually Bijan you would think is matchup proof. But have some of those weeks that you think that with these top guys and they do put up duds, which is what half the league is probably hoping for, except for James. Because I actually don't want James to win. I do not want to see James in the playoffs. I'd rather him lose. Give the spot to Jeff. Like,
I mean, I agree. I would
fine.
much rather see Jeff's team in there too, but I just just looking at these matchups, I don't see how James loses this game.
Yeah, and yeah, the matchups are tough. Tony Pollard is bad as it is, and then he goes against the Cleveland defense,
I mean, he
and
might
then
put up 2 points.
maybe not even, and that's the crazy part. But Puka definitely has not had a great month the last couple months or the last couple weeks. So he's actually due. Um, I mean, this is good. Don't get me wrong, but this isn't a Puka level. Like you could see these 20 balls consistently, and then now he's only about averaging 15 the last month or so. So he's due. Arizona doesn't have the greatest defense. That could be a shootout though, because Arizona likes to get in shootouts. Um, but yeah, James. I think James wins this, but it's going to be interesting because Monday night's going to be huge. You got Lad McConkey Monday night versus Jalen Hurts Monday night. So this game will be decided. Hopefully, it's really close because that'd be just make it a lot more fun. But James, I think James walks away with this, and I think he probably wins by 20 plus.
Yeah, I really just can't see this game being particularly close. Just looking at the matchups that we got here, Dom's rolling out a subpar team this week, I would say, just compared to even his team at full strength, which hasn't been super big fireworks for him anyways. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I just Dom's really gonna have to his guys are gonna have to show out like crazy to win this game.
Well, let's say Dom does win, and let's look at this matchup because this is probably the next best matchup to just get in the playoffs. So then we have Jeff and Chewy. And like I said, Chewy's got some injuries with his running backs, with Kamara, St. Brown, and then I guess that was basically it. But St. Brown's a big hit. Do you think Jeff can pull this off and beat, let's say Dom wins and beat Dom's team by 15?
Man, I don't know. This is gonna be kind of same situation with the last game. It's gonna be a tough one to win for Jeff, even with Amon out. I mean, Jonathan Taylor has kind of been up and down, but he finally gets a defense that's not super good. Like his schedule's been pretty rough over the last few weeks. This could be a possible 20 ball plus for Jonathan Taylor that he hasn't seen in a few weeks. So I'm thinking that he might score a couple times in this game. And if Jonathan Taylor goes off, I think that pretty much seals the deal already. And that Buffalo and Cincinnati game could kind of be shootout territory. So Jamar Chase could also go off. So man, I don't know. You know what? This game might be somewhat closer than we think. If Lamar, I think maybe this all if Jamar Chase can match Jonathan Taylor, this might come down to whether Lamar has an actual good game because I think all the other guys on these teams kind of match up fairly evenly. JSN might have a pretty big edge over the other guys, but other than that, like if Lamar can go crazy, Jeff might have a shot here.
Yeah, Lamar hasn't gone crazy in a while, though. I mean, granted, he was hurt for a little
Single
bit.
digits the last 3 weeks.
3 weeks. So, I mean, there is a chance where he could throw Stafford in there versus Arizona. Like I said, Arizona likes to go into shootouts. Stafford didn't have a great week in Carolina. Carolina's weather, though, it was snowing and windy. So they weren't really passing the ball at all. Carolina wasn't either. So Carolina just beat them basically on the ground with Chuba. But there is a world where Jeff probably goes Stafford, and it's probably the right move. I'm not going to try to give fantasy advice, but Lamar's just been bad, like single digits, like you said, the last 3 weeks. In Pittsburgh, that defense isn't great, but it's not bad. Like they can definitely show out when they want to, but they have gotten torched before, like versus Flacco. I just remember them getting me like -5 one week. It was a Thursday game too, some bums, but they're not bad. So they could definitely hold Lamar. But this is an interesting game. I'm hoping. I guess it really doesn't matter. I hope Jeff wins just to make it interesting. But Chewy's in no matter what. But Jeff
Yeah.
can make it interesting with a big win, a statement win, and then everyone's looking at because he has no. He does have Dallas Goddard Monday night, but Chewy's basically done after 1 o'clock. He has Bo Nix at 4. Um, so Jeff could be on his edge of his seat on Monday, and I hope that's the case because it just make Monday a lot more fun.
Yeah, I think this game is a little bit closer than Dom versus James. But if Dom somehow pulls it out, this could be a fun one to watch. And like you said, I'm kind of rooting for that too, just to shake things up and make it interesting. If we can actually have these guys looking at a shot. Luckily, the Dom and James game is going to go into Monday, so we'll at least be able to be like, what if, and have that after Sunday. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend to watch these games. But I think this one could be close.
Yeah, definitely will be close. Chewy's needs to get Amon. I think Amon will come back probably after this week if he doesn't play, just because it's a short week. So Chewy's team needs to get on the up and up for next week. A good win versus Jeff will do it. But we'll go to Rudy and Nick's game pretty quickly. Rudy looks like he's going to just pull away from this 124 to 107 as projections. Joe or Nick, I keep saying Joe. Nick needs like I said, at least 150. Does Nick get 150 from this lineup? Yes or no?
No, I don't think it's happening.
We've been pretty low on Nick's team for the last month and a half. Ever since we did the podcast on the rankings, we've been pretty low on Nick. I think we both ranked him around like 9 and 10. And we've actually been pretty correct because I think when we did that podcast, he was like 5-2, 5-3, securing a spot in the playoffs. Now he's 6-7. But I do agree. I don't think he gets anywhere close.
No, I don't. I unfortunately don't think so. And honestly, in fairness, we've been pretty low on Nick's team out of the draft even. And
Yeah,
he came out of the gate and surprised, I think, a lot of people with the team that he had. He was putting up a lot of good scores, getting a lot of wins, and then just kind of hit a roadblock and started going down. The injury certainly did not help his team this year, but unfortunately, I think his season's done.
yeah, and then like we said with Rudy's team, his team looks good with a lot of good matchups. CD might win this week, just tomorrow, because he plays that could be a shootout tomorrow versus Detroit. Yeah, Nick, I think it'll be interesting if he gets the dub and he gets like a 140 ball, and we're looking at Monday, and there's like 40 things that could happen different, but I don't think Nick's team has it in him. He's had a hell of a season though. just he probably comes up a little short.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got enough juice for this one, unfortunately.
Let's go to our game. We have some empty spots. We're waiting for another quarterback for you for tomorrow. I'm guessing. I have a hunch on who it is. See if you get him.
Because I
But
told
then
you
I'm
today.
yeah. Well, I don't want to say that. Well, I guess I could say it on the podcast because this
Well, if
isn't
you
going to
say it, I'm not releasing the podcast till I get him.
Right. Well, you won't. Yeah, exactly. So I won't say it. But I'm looking at injuries for this week. I don't have a tight end in there right now because my tight end's on bye. But you could just look at these buys just for both of us. You have Tet on a bye. Pearsall, who's been butt this year. I have him in a dynasty league. He sucks. But I also have Diggs, Stevenson, Theo, and Brian Robinson, which is a big buy. But some big buys for me with just Diggs and then Stevenson. Because he actually looked like the lead back last week, which kind of aggravated me because I have Henderson in my other dynasty. So, but I'm looking at T. Higgins. He was in concussion protocol. He should play, and Kincaid actually should play too. But I'm just waiting for those questionables to be for sure playing to get him out of the IR spot. And then you're waiting for a quarterback. But if you add the two that I have down there, and then add the quarterback that you are going to pick up, our projections are still pretty. Like I think it's like 1 or 2 points away from each other. So this should be a good game. It'll be interesting to see if Marvin plays. That would be a huge hit if he doesn't for you, which I'm kind of hoping he doesn't. He needs to rest up.
I'm almost nervous to play him anyway, just because I don't want him to re-aggravate that thing. If he's not going to get full reps, just tell me he's out. I got
Right.
somebody I'm ready to plug into that flex spot if needed. So yeah, if he's not going to get full workload, just sit him out so I don't even have to make the decision and we can all move on. But yeah, tough week with buys here, a couple injuries. I mean, yeah, I think honestly, I think this is going to be a close game either way. I think you and I have been pretty close in points most of the year anyway. We've split our two games that we played. You won one, I won one. They neither of them were really blowouts or yours might
No.
have been a blowout because I had some really bad
No, I
buys.
only won by 3, and then you beat me by like 8, I think.
Yeah, so
Week
they
one.
okay, yeah, they work. Oh yeah, you had a really bad week. I almost won that week with those bad buys.
Yeah, you should have won that week.
Yeah, I should have. So yeah, I really think this is going to be a close game. I kind of think it's a toss up. I really can't say one way or the other. We're both in the playoffs. It's not a huge deal, but we are playing for the division and that number 2 seed for you, or possibly number 1 seed for me if I can win. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited for this game nonetheless.
Yeah, and a lot of our big guys have really good matchups. Gibbs tomorrow, Dallas, which has been okay against the run ever since those trades, but I mean Jamar Gibbs should torch them. I'm hoping for less than 25, and then I have Josh Allen and HN versus really good defense or not good defenses. Good for me as the Jets run defense isn't good, and Cincinnati gets torched every single week by everybody except Lamar Jackson, I guess. But
That's not great for me.
yeah. So I mean, I got some good matchups. I'm feeling confident. I do. I need T Higgins to play. I think Kincaid was going to play last Sunday, but then they uh, told him he wasn't. So it looks like he's going to play, and as long as T gets out of concussion protocol, he should be fine. So those are two big guys. If I don't have those two, it's going to be a tough week for me. I'm going to need to find some tight end on the waivers, but I like my chances. And it is kind of a bit like $50 is $50. Um,
2 seed
but
first
it
round
should be a good game.
bye.
Yeah, and I'm also playing for the points. So I need a lot of points. I need to get in there just for a chance to get some more money. So I'm going to be watching pretty intently this week. I know you will be too. So it should be a fun week starting tomorrow with a good game.
Yeah, it
But
should be fun. We got about 1 minute left here.
okay, well, yeah, we'll go to Johnny and Jimmy. There's nothing really much to say. You just need Jimmy to lose. Um,
Yeah, I mean these are easily probably our two top teams, at least
yep.
as of late. Two top guys, best records in the league. So this should be a fun game to watch. But yeah, obviously close projections here. I don't think any crazy buys, so this should be a pretty close game and a fun one to watch. Jimmy's already got the division, so really they're just where me and
Thanks for
Jimmy
that.
are playing for the 1 seed.
I hope. I don't know if Johnny will lose any ground. I think he's got the third seed pretty much wrapped up for the playoffs. So it doesn't matter for him. I don't think.
Yeah, he's just playing to try and get some points and get another win.
And I'm sure we'll get cut off, but we'll go to this game because this is the last place game.
Toilet Bowl. The
They're not
only
even
game with
projected
both
100.
teams at double-digit prediction or projections.
Not where you want to be. Good season, guys. Better luck next year. And Chris was our champ last year, so he deserves this, I
Can't win them all, man.
think. Can't win them all at all.
All right. Well, that does it for this one. Great playoff outlook. We'll see how everything shakes out. I'm super excited to watch some football this weekend and see what happens.